This video was brought to you by Tall Man Toys and Comics.
What would you do if there was a child right in front of you?
Who remembers A Christmas Carol? Well, let me be the first to say that I remember this story pretty well. This is a very popular story, even to the point that Hollywood loves to milk it half to death, some movies even being inspired by it. It's kind of like King Kong or Alice in Wonderland. Everybody has their own interpretation of this story, and there's a reason for that. This is a very popular or well-known story. Anybody can make an adaptation with it as long as you add something new and unique to it. Though if you have not read the book yet, it is really hard to find, but you can actually find it in some libraries or Amazon or something. It's a really great read. But today, I'm going to talk about 3 adaptations that are somewhat in common. Mickey's Christmas Carol, The Muppet Christmas Carol, and A Christmas Carol from Robert Zemeckis. All of them are owned by Disney. But which movie is the best one? Well, let's figure out which Disney Christmas Carol is the best one. Let's start off with Mickey's Christmas Carol. Mickey's Christmas Carol was a short film released in 1983. And for a short film like this, it's pretty solid. It's not my favorite adaptation, but it does its job pretty well. What I like about the short is Scrooge McDuck himself. Being the jerk that he is, you kind of feel for him because looking at his past and everything, despite what he done, you kind of sympathize with him. You kind of want him to do better. And I do like the Ghost of Christmas Present, Past and Future, and the casting they got for him. I mean, the Giant as the Ghost of Christmas Present, that's really nice. I do like they have Goofy as Jacob Marley, Jiminy Cricket as the past ghost, and the future, which I won't spoil for who it is, but let's just say it's perfect casting. And they make Tiny Tim really cute in this, and once you see what happens to him, it gets pretty dark and saddening. Which, yeah, it's perfect. While, yeah, there are a couple problems though, like it is a little bit too short. I understand this was the 1980s and they probably didn't have time to make this into a full-length film, but you could have done more stuff from the book. And the other problem is that I really wish they would have done more with the ghosts. Like at least mostly with present and future, because once the present ghost leaves, it's kind of a big leap because you kind of want to done more with him and it just goes straight back to the future. But other than that, Mickey's Christmas Carol is a fine adaptation. It's not the best, but it's definitely I would look forward to watching every year. Now let's talk about The Muppet Christmas Carol. Released in 1992 and directed by Brian Henson, who would go on to direct Muppet Treasure Island, Muppet Tonight, and would be the executive producer of Elmo and Grouchland, The Muppet Christmas Carol was the first Muppet film ever to be released by Disney, and it actually pays off. In fact, I knew a lot of people that this was their introduction to the story, and you know what? I'm one of those people. Let me tell you the reason why I prefer this version of the story. First of all, I love Michael Caine as Scrooge. I mean, yeah, Scrooge McDuck is good, and we're going to talk about Jim Carrey here in a minute, but I really like Michael Caine as Scrooge, and he's probably the best Scrooge in any film adaptation. Also, some of the ideas and roles that they give the Muppets and these characters really fit. Like, for example, the Ghost of Christmas Present has a really bad memory. Why? Because he always lives in the present, which is why he has to repeat things and doesn't remember everybody. So, yeah. It is not as dark as the Mickey Christmas Carol or the next Christmas Carol we're about to talk about here in a second, but it is a very well adaptation. Gonzo and Rizzo as the narrators were perfect. They were really funny. Kermit as Bob Cratchit, it's really perfect casting. And this is probably my favorite adaptation overall. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It may not win you over for those who are not Muppet fans, but for Muppet fans like me, this is definitely worth checking out. And now let's talk about Robert Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol. Released in 2009, it was released by Robert Zemeckis and his motion capture company, who also worked on Beowulf and the Polar Express. A Christmas Carol was released and was the first film from the motion capture company to be released by Disney, and in my opinion is the weakest adaptation. It's not bad, it's just kind of subpar compared to the last two adaptations. Let me explain. Let's get to the good stuff. I actually like Jim Carrey's Mr. Scrooge. I mean, it's not the best performance in any of his films, but he does a good job here. And some of the visuals and the backgrounds look pretty solid. And then the bad stuff is the uncanny valley stuff, like the facial expressions on the humans, some scenes and movements are awkward, and yeah, the textures on the ghosts look a little bit off. But with that said, there are some cool ideas, like the Ghost of Christmas Future is like a ghost, like an actual ghost, and kind of a demon sort of creature. I do like the scene where Bob Cratchit is sad and he looks right in front of Scrooge's face. That was pretty cool and really heartwarming and sad. And there are some really funny moments and some really dark moments too. Like, this movie used to scare me a lot when I was a kid, and I saw this when it first came out in theaters. So not the best adaptation and kind of a weak one, but not awful. If you just want to see some motion capture, this will give you exactly what you're looking for. So, overall, guys. So which movie is better? Well, it took me some time to think about it some, and I'll just say this, my favorite version is The Muppet Christmas Carol. It has the best Scrooge, the best backgrounds, and the best look and colors, and the best casting choices for each character. Everything was just perfect. Mickey's Christmas Carol is in the middle. Some scenes, it is really too short, and some scenes with the ghosts were a little too short as well. But at least the casting fit well, the animation was nice, and Ebenezer Scrooge himself is pretty well done here. Christmas Carol from Robert Zemeckis isn't bad, but with the uncanny valley stuff and some of the casting choices, it just seemed kind of unfitting, though I do appreciate it being stayed more true to the book. But what do you guys think? Please comment below and let me know what you think is the better adaptation.